Well, good evening, VC. It's another video from Pretty Green Vinyl Guy. Cheers. All right. This is the one I've been excited to make. This is the Vinyl Tag 2018. I saw so many of these at the beginning of the month and was so pumped when I saw them. I was like, oh, I gotta do this video. So finally, we're gonna do it. So you guys know it's 20 questions. It takes a while. I want to get right into it. All right. Number one, first video you watched on the VC. I'm pretty sure it was Naz Nomad from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I'm not sure if it's because I live in Canada and when I typed in vinyl and vinyl collecting and all those other tags, I think his was the one that came up. And I'm glad it did because his passion for vinyl, his amazing finds, man, the guy's he scores more than any man I know. I mean, he just finds stuff that I drool over. So Naz, I'm coming to Edmonton. I want to go shopping with you one day. All right, favorite record discovered on the VC. That's easy. That was this one right here, Townes Van Zandt. Live at the Old Quarter from Houston, Texas. This was shown to me by Tales from the Crate. And I believe it was on his top 100 albums of all time. It was like in the top 10, I think, so that's what tweaked my curiosity. I bought it as a bit of a blind buy as well because I had no idea what it sounded like. I just went on his top 10 of this album and I thought, I'm going for it. I've never heard of it. It's got to be good if it's in someone's top 10 of their 100 all-time albums. And yeah, doesn't disappoint. Highly recommend it. Do you have any other hobbies? Yeah, I'm a pretty serious runner. I race half marathons and marathons. Do quite a bit of cycling, and I like to take photos. I'm into photography. I guess those are the main ones. Why did I start collecting? Basically, followed in my dad's footsteps. My dad was a big music guy, and just our weekends in my house growing up, a Sunday morning was typically, you know, the old record player where you stack them up and the arm came across and dropped one down and then the next one and the next one. And yeah, that was like every Sunday in my house. It was an ongoing, for about 5 years, those 5-6 albums, it was always Dark Side of the Moon, Crime of the Century, Sgt. Pepper's, Van Morrison's Moondance, and Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Those 5 albums played every Sunday in my house for most of my childhood, and it got me into it. I started collecting myself when I was about 12 or 13. And to this day, some of the vinyl in my house is my original vinyl that I own. So that's why. Do you play an instrument or have you played in a band? I used to play guitar. I haven't played guitar in years. I played in a punk band in high school called The Front. We played our local gymnasium out of my high school. We played the cafeteria. We played local halls in our town. And we were a cover band. We played The Clash, The Pistols, U2, The Police. I was originally the guitarist, but of course we found a better guitarist, so I became the bass player, which didn't bug me. I didn't really care about playing the music. I just loved the idea of being in a band. As horrible as that sounds. It was like, yeah, like I love to perform and be on stage, and that was just part and parcel to the whole thing. So yeah, funny enough, I know in this house I have a demo tape of our band doing a rehearsal and then recording a couple of songs. And as I alluded to earlier, I am a new owner of a tape deck player, and I'm gonna find that tape and I'm gonna play it and we're gonna do a video on it. So keep posted. Have you ever worked at a record shop? No, I haven't, but I'm pretty sure my wife thinks I work in a record shop. Favorite album from the year you were born? Well, maybe surprisingly to some of you, but I actually just had a birthday. I just turned 50 last week, a week ago exactly. And that makes me born in 1968. And don't let my young good looks fool you. And the album from the year I was born would be the Beatles' White Album, 1968. All right. Number 8. What classical record have you never heard? Well, I don't know if it's a classical record, but a band that people talk about all the time. They freaking have tattoos of them. They freaking like travel to the edge of the earth to see them. They have rooms in their houses dedicated to them. And I swear to you, I've never even heard one of their songs. Iron Maiden. I know nothing about Iron Maiden. So if that's a classical band that I know nothing about, I'm going with Iron Maiden. I don't know why I don't know anything about Iron Maiden. Only thing I know is those cartoon caricatures on the album covers. And the singer's Bruce Dickinson and he flies a jet. I don't know why I know that, but I know nothing about the music. I could not name a song. Something of the Devil or Number of the Beast, maybe. But yeah. I remember that because, remember in high school, people had those patches on the back of their jackets, and all the rockers, all the metalheads had the Iron Maiden patch on the back of theirs. I was a mod and a punk. The last thing I ever wanted to be associated with was a metalhead and Iron Maiden. Anyway, that's a long time ago. Show a guilty pleasure record. Well, a guilty pleasure record for me would be, I love musicals. I was just in London and I was fortunate enough to see Hamilton on stage, and that could be my new favorite musical album. But I gotta say, West Side Story, that's a guilty pleasure. I mean, there's so many snappy songs on this that have great memories. My daughter is trying to become a professional dancer. And I can still remember the night her and I watched this for the first time when she was about 8 years old. And I don't know if I had influence on her by that, but this is definitely a guilty pleasure. West Side Story. So many great songs. Strangest record you own? I don't really have a lot of strange because I figure, records are expensive, and if I'm going to spend money that I save for records, I'm going to buy stuff that I really, really love and I really want to add to. But I did find this one. This is one of those, like, how to give yourself a stereo checkout. So basically, you play this record and it checks your bass, it checks your treble, checks the mids, checks the balance, and checks the mono to stereo, and you play the song and then you listen. So that's probably strange enough, I figure. Show a picture disc. I've already showed this one today, actually, but this is a different version. This is the picture disc. This is the small faces on picture. This is a reissue mono of the infamous Ogden's Nut Gun Flake. One of the greatest albums of all time. Also a 68 release, I believe. Best posthumous release. I always say that wrong. Best posthumous release. There you go, I got it. This album, it's a greatest hits. That's kind of, not a great way to show it. But I'm going to go with Bob Marley and the Wailers and the song Buffalo Soldier, which that song was released after Bob Marley's tragic death. So there you go. Go with that one. What artists do you impulsively collect? There's a couple, but I'll go with David Bowie. I mean, if I see a David Bowie original in fantastic shape, I'm going to buy it 99.9 times out of 100. Can't get enough Bowie. And yeah, that would be that one. We're going to flip the page. Okay, best blind buy is this one right here. This is Car Seat Headrest, Teens of Denial. I was basically at my local record store at the cash paying my bill, and Steve, my local record guy, he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Car Seat Headrest? You need to buy this album." So of course I bought it, and yeah, it's fantastic. You all need to buy this album. Yeah, I knew nothing about it, and it's fantastic. So check that one out. Favorite blind spot artist. Blind spot artist. So if I understand, blind spot artist is someone that is, you know, you'd like to have more of their work. You kind of dabbled maybe once in it, but it's on your radar, but you haven't really committed yet. So if that's what that means, I'm going to go with The Pretty Things. This is the only album I have of theirs. This is Parachute. And as far as their discography is concerned, I don't know where this sits in it, whether it's a later or an earlier. But I've heard amazing things about The Pretty Things. I've heard a few songs that I love. And, you know, this is a cool gatefold. And I know they have, I'm sure, 10, 12 albums. And I want to get more. So we'll go with The Pretty Things. Favorite album cover. I showed this in another contest earlier, and I was going to pick something else, but then, well, this is my favorite, so why would I do that? So, yeah, we're going to go with Sticky Fingers, Rolling Stones, Andy Warhol's amazing album cover with the working zipper. This is an original US pressing, and got to be one of the greatest album covers of all time. Rolling Stone Sticky Fingers. Musician you've met. All right. So I live in a place called Nanaimo, British Columbia. And it's on Vancouver Island. And we have a famous jazz musician that some of you may know that I went to high school with. And her name is Diana Krall. And I know Diana Krall very well. As I say, we went to high school together. And I could show a photo of Diana and I. But Diana married one of my heroes from growing up. And that's Elvis Costello. So Diana Krall is married to Elvis Costello. And through Diana, I got to meet Elvis. And there's a picture of Elvis and I. So Elvis Costello. All right. A record with sentimental value. As I mentioned earlier there, my dad was big into vinyl, and every Sunday morning, and we did the routine. I told you the albums. So one of those 5 albums was Dark Side of the Moon. So because of that, it'll always hold a special place in my heart, just from hearing it all the time, and will always remind me of my dad. So there you go. Favorite album no one knows about. If you're from Canada, you know this album, you know this band, but you know anywhere else in the world, and there's people all over the world watching this. I have followers in the States, all over Europe, and down in Australia, and this is the artist that none of you probably know. This is a band called The Tragically Hip. They're one of Canada's foremost bands. They are a national icon. They are really the definition of Canadiana in music today. Tragically, the lead singer passed away last year, Gordon Downey. He had terminal brain cancer. And but for a good 15 years, this band was at the top of every young Canadian's list of best music. And yeah, it's certainly a band that we all love as Canadians, and unfortunately they did not get their due around the world. And probably because they are pretty Canadian in a lot of their lyrics. And but you know, if you love good rock, if you love Neil Young, if you love REM, Springsteen, you know, anybody that talks about, you know, great poetry mixed with great rock music, you're gonna love the Tragically Hip. I urge you to look these guys up on YouTube, on iTunes. This is Phantom Power. This was one of their mid to later albums. It had a couple of fantastic songs on it. Bob Canyon, if you've never heard that song, that's a true classic song. And yeah, please check out the Tragically Hip, any of their albums, but Phantom Power is a great one. And the last question, favorite album of a genre you know nothing about. As I alluded to with Iron Maiden, I know nothing about metal. I don't have very much metal. I don't even know if this album I'm going to show defines as metal, but I'm going to go with Metallica, the Black Album. It's the closest thing I have to metal, and that's a genre I don't know much about. But it's obviously very popular on the VC. So that's my 2018 vinyl tag. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me do this for the 20-odd plus minutes it's probably taken. And it's great to be back in the VC. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.